Oftentimes people see strength meaning that I have to handle everything by myself, have to do it all, not getting the support that they need. And I think that resilience doesn't call for you to ignore your current state. We're sometimes having that idea, the trope of strong woman does, right? And so resilience allows you to embrace your current state and embrace where you are, even if you don't have the capacity right now. That's okay, right? And it doesn't require you to stay strong and stay in it and push through. It allows you to say, hey, not today.
Using the term strong is it has the connotation that it's all in me. I'm every woman. It's all in me.
Right.
And it's not.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you once again for joining Ibisame Relational Health for another series of Let's Talk Therapy. This week, for this series today, we have two incredible clinicians. We have Jacqueline Hunter-Lewis, who has been with us since being a master's student at King University as an intern here, and now she's one of our senior clinicians. And we also now have our current intern, who is at Manhattan University, studying for her marriage and family therapy, Tanik Summer, who is also joining us today for this Let's Talk Therapy series. And as you all know, I'm Dr. Christiana Awoson. I am the founder of Ibisame Relational Health and also the lead clinical director. So thank you both for being here with us today and talking about the shift from strong woman to emotionally supported woman. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with the two of you.
Yes, thank you for having us. I think that it's an important conversation to have, especially in the world that we are living in today, right? That there's so much going on and being required of women right now. And women have been the backbone of their families, of the community, of society as a whole for so long that it's important for us to know what our capacity is and then be able to ask for help before we get to burnout, before we get to a point of not having any more to give.
I appreciate that. Yes, and I'm sure in you all's clinical work, right, we see this role come up a lot, right? This strong woman role and feeling the need to take on the strong woman role. If you don't mind just speaking a little bit about how you see some of the clients that we work with actually take on this role and how it's part of the problems, situations, issues that they're bringing into therapy.
I can go first if you don't mind. And so a lot of the clients that I have that take on this strong woman role without the needed support, right? They come in with symptoms of anxiety, feeling overwhelmed. They might even have like the somatic symptoms of being jittery, right? Feeling like they want to jump out of their skin. They can't sleep at night. Racing thoughts, things like that. And on the opposite side, we have the ones that come in with depression, right? Because I'm not strong enough. I'm not doing it well. I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not a good enough wife. I can't juggle all the things and be at 100% in all areas of my life. And so a lot of it is trying to do everything at 100%.
No, that makes a lot of sense because then it's like that's when that anxiety comes in, right? That's when that depression comes in. That's where the need to kind of like take care of everybody, right? While like ignoring your own thoughts, emotions, needs, what you need. You're constantly worrying, especially like with women. It's like we've been programmed to just worry about and also anticipate what everybody else needs. So it's like you have to take on the needs of everybody and therefore be strong.
Yeah, I've also seen the intellectualization of it, where it's so internalized that there's like a disconnect between the body and the mind.
Mm.
And it takes a lot to get them to a place to connect how the pressure, the stress, the desire to be high functioning in all the areas have gotten them into this more cerebral place. And I feel like some of the work that I've had to do is getting to a place of being more aware of the somatic expression of the stress and things like that. But I've noticed like a disconnect, an emotional disconnect, even from self. To be able to caretake, sometimes you do have to have some type of separation, and sometimes it turns into self neglect.
And to your point, Cindy, when you disconnect from your body like that, right? You don't even know what your capacity is anymore. You don't know when
Just
when to say when, right? When it's enough. When do I need support?
yeah.
You just turned it off because that's what you feel like you have to do.
And in Jules' work and maybe also in our own personal life, do we know if women are aware of when we actually take on this role of the strong one? Like,
Yeah.
because given what you are talking about, right? We disconnect from our mind and the body. So do we even know when we took on that role?
I don't think it's even a conscious decision sometimes, especially in some of our homes and intergenerationally. Like you always see mom do it, and you never see mom cry, and you never see mom complain unless you come home and you forgot to wash the dishes, and she's like, "I worked all day, you didn't wash the dishes," and that's when you're like, "Oh my gosh, she snapped." But but until then, for the most part, mom has it or grandma has it, and um oftentimes I think because we haven't seen those moments when they've broken down or even heard the language or seen them model asking for help, besides when we have to do our chores, but like asking for legitimate help, like I cannot do this today, can somebody blah blah blah. And I think sometimes not seeing it modeled intergenerationally, I think we've lost even the language to ask for it. But then also when we're not aware with our own body, or even what you're going through, because like you said, Jackie, like if you don't have the capacity, you don't know when you have the capacity, you don't know when to say when, so then you also don't know when to ask for help or what to ask for help for, because you're so used to doing everything or thinking you can do everything, and then when you can't, there's something wrong with me. Why am I not able to do everything like I usually do?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that it's just passed down like a baton from generation to generation, right?
Yeah.
When grandma can't do it anymore, when big mama's tired and you can physically see, you know, her ailing body, then it's passed to the next mother figure, right? And then generation to generation, this idea of being the strong one for the family, the strong one for the community, it's just passed down.
It's like the women attacks where each generation there's always one or two person within each family that is the one that brings everybody to the table, is the one that is knowing what's going on in everybody's life and also fixing it in a sense. So yeah, so it's like it's kind of like you're taught through modeling. You just picked it up as a young child and as a young girl, and then you're like, okay, now it's my turn to do this, right? And we even see that. I think it's funny where my nieces and nephew, and my niece is always trying to be like, no, nobody asked you to correct anybody. You know,
Which
so
is, yes, the fixer, right? You automatically fall into that role.
right, right. It's like you want to fix things, you know. Um, and I think also then maybe it is then important to start having women talk about what cost us to be in this like strong position or strong women role, right? Like, what does it cost us? Like, maybe that's the conversation we need to be having more with women now. And I guess I'm curious in terms of like you all's experience in trying to have that conversation with your clients, because I know sometimes it is very difficult for me. I mean, the women, they see it, but at the same time, because it's so ingrained, it's so hard to shift to actually like saying, hey, I need help emotionally. So I've been thinking about like maybe if we start highlighting and making it explicit what it costs us, maybe that would be helpful. Any thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that it it requires a reframe of this narrative, right? Of being the strong woman as a compliment,
Okay.
right? I can do it. I can do it. If nobody else does it, who else is going to do it? And then, oh, well, she's strong. She can handle it. She doesn't need help.
Yeah.
And helping them, understand that it might be costing you your relationships.
Yeah.
Where, you're so strong and you've built up this wall, right? Because you're in survival mode, actually. And because you're in survival mode, you build up a wall that pushes other people away because you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Vulnerability actually is what connects people, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're not being vulnerable, when you're being strong, it might actually be hindering you from connecting to the people that you want to connect to.
Yeah.
Amongst all of the other, things going on as far as, illnesses that manifest in different ways, from it being suppressed, right? And doing too much and not getting the support, feeling overwhelmed, all of those types of things. It can actually be impacting your relationships.
I would also like to add to that, like, there's also a cost of the benefit of the relationship, like you said, right? Because sometimes we don't know the ability of another person that could really help us, right? Because we've never even given them the opportunity to show up for us. Another thing I was thinking of was it also costs us our identity, because you get so caught up in being all everyone else needs that you're no longer pursuing passions. You're no longer doing things that you would have normally done. You're no longer even trying to experience pleasure and joy, right? Because you're so caught up. And don't get me wrong, I do feel like there is some type of reward that comes in the process of caretaking sometimes, that you may not even realize you're missing more, more intentional aspects of joy and pleasure. So you don't even notice it. But I think in that pursuit of being everything to everyone, you don't even get to be you, because being you may mean that, oh, I am not 100% good at this thing, so I can't show up in this way because you see me as this competent person, and so forth and so forth. So me being my true self, I don't even know if you can handle that, because you only know when I'm really good and ready. What if my true self sometimes is like, I'm sad today and I don't want to get up? And that gives a whole different narrative. And I think because of that, we don't get to show up in the fullness of ourselves. It doesn't mean that it has to be the weak side or whatever, or the soft side, but there's a part of us that gets neglected in the process of using the strong mask.
Yeah. You know what you two are talking about kind of like get me thinking about, in therapy we always, like, as MFT, we're thinking about what is maintaining the problem. Right? What is maintaining the problem? And I think part of what is in hearing the two of you, part of what might be maintaining the problem of like the strong one, particularly for women, is that we literally play that role. And we play that role so well that to move out of that role is a problem. And I always say this, we've trained the people in our lives so well, right? To believe and to see and to identify us with that role, right? And so women becomes the over functioning strong one, while everybody else, whether it is their partner, their husbands, their boyfriends, their spouse, their kids, their siblings, they all fall into the other role of, well, she's got to take care of it. So, and not all women, but most women would take on this role. Like, she's going to take care of it, right? So we have this like over functioning, under functioning, like complementary, rigid relationship where you're just expected to be strong all the time, and everybody else, or maybe most people in your life, are just expected to just, yeah, like over function. And so you keep this thing going, right? And so I wonder, like, what is it going to take to really help women who take on this strong role to start breaking out of that, like, over functioning, under functioning dynamic, and not continue to train the people in their lives so well to expect them to be the strong one, and even not to train themselves so well to keep expecting you to be the strong one. What is it going to take to kind of shift to that? No, you need emotional support, and it's okay, like you were saying, to be vulnerable and break out of that mold.
I think it takes, like you were saying earlier, figuring out the function of it. Right? How is it protecting you, and what is it protecting you from? Because oftentimes, like I was saying about the relationships, the others don't help, not only because you are doing everything and they feel like, okay, she's got it, but also because they don't want to cause issues, right? Because you show up that so much sometimes as being controlling, right? And they're like, hey, well, she wants the control, she's controlling, I don't want to cause any problems, right? But what is the function of you needing that control? And where did that start for you? And so these types of reflective questions are important, right? Because again, it's our body's way of defending ourselves, defending ourselves from being hurt, right? It might be something that happened in your past where you realized that nobody showed up for you the way you needed them to show up. And so now this is how I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to keep control over everything. I'm going to overfunction to make sure that I don't get disappointed. And so having conversations where you can backtrack and figure out where that disappointment started and how does it show up in my everyday life today.
That's a really good point. Thank you for sharing that, especially those reflective questions, right? To reflect on. Yeah.
Also, a lot of times it's also driven by anxiety, right? You say control, but it's the fear that it will all go wrong and it will get messed up or not be done right. And I think a part of it is inviting others to help, but also letting them do it. And sometimes and just kind of resigning to the fact that it may not be how I would do it, but because I need this off my plate, just bask in the fact that someone else got it. And sometimes, to be honest, it takes it's going to be a trial, but I think the more people are able to show up in a sense of like the person does it well enough and I'm calm, then it's like you're able to practice it more often. I've had to do that, like decenter myself, thinking, oh, if I don't do it, it's gonna be crazy. And then the one time I was like, you know what? I'm actually gonna do something else. I'm gonna ask someone else to do it. And I'm like, it was just such a relief to not have to do it. I don't even care how it got done. Is it done?
Right.
Great. Thank you. Moving on. And also, I think when people show themselves reliable, that anxiety goes down too, because
you learn to trust.
You learn to trust, and I'm hoping that we have enough people in our circle that we can test that with, like give them a task and And some people, kids, I've even said to parents, like, let your kid help. Like, you're carrying 20 bags. Give him one of them bags. Give him a light one. And just even that is testing and giving you the opportunity to practice the skill, because I have to say it's a skill, especially when you've been conditioned to figure it out, do it yourself and whatever, and you get to a point where, okay, this is how I do things and so forth, but it can make it hard to receive help because it needs to be this type of help, and it needs to be done this way, and it needs to be arranged that way, and it takes it takes time to undo that. But I think practicing it with people that care enough to try, even if they don't get it right, you're like, thank you, next time when you do it, I like it this way, that's fine, but let people help you. But I'm a witness that it takes time to unlearn that. I'm recovering myself, so yeah.
So I agree. And I think that you can start with the little things, right? The things that don't really matter. The things where you're not married to the outcome, right? Like, done is done. It doesn't have to be perfect. And so I can I can allow somebody else to do it the way that they want. And then, like you said, you'll start to see that, oh, they did pretty good at that, right? Okay. The world didn't end. Yeah. Everybody's still alive. Everybody's still breathing, right? Especially with being a mom. Sometimes, the best outcome to hope for is that everybody stayed alive today. Everybody's still breathing. I'll let go of the rest.
Yeah. I want to hit on that point that you said, because it's funny, but in my life and also like just in professional, like being in terms of like watching moms and just women in general, even though we're in 2026, somehow we're so socialized and ingrained to like be the one that takes care of the home, no matter how many careers and how many degrees and how much money, like it's just ingrained in us, right? To the point that I'm starting to have conversation with like several women, like, I'm sorry, why are you coming home and still doing the dishes and the cooking when you have a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 20-something-year-old in the house? And also, there is your partner, your husband. Like, what happens to, this is a family business. Everybody put your hands together so that we can actually survive. Why do you have to carry it all? And I'm really surprised as to how many women are kind of like, oh yeah, that's true. They can actually start helping. Like, yes, you, from the beginning, like this is a whole household and everybody take a portion and we all do it together rather than like having it just be just you alone. Because I think we're still living by the definition of what a woman, what a mother is, while that definition, even though it's still ingrained in us, it's not working for the 21st century.
Right. Yeah, and exactly. Like the principles may be there, but also in reality, when we are having a home with two people working outside of the home and expecting that the same level of let's say dedication to the household chores is on one person plus the full professional life as well. And sometimes some of us are in school at the same time, all three. So then I think we may have to have a little bit more flexibility in how things get done. And I think sometimes we have not thought of what works for our home, and give ourselves that grace too. What works in our dynamic? Okay, you come home at 3. Okay, you can get this and this started. You can get the dishwasher started before I get home. By the time I get home, I can do this part. This other person can do this part, and whatever works, what system works. But I think also having those conversations, because I think even in like premarital stuff, counseling, I think those are great conversations to have. Like, hey, so in terms of what is your expectations of how, the home is managed and so forth. And even if the person is on a different side of the spectrum, can we have a compromise? Okay, well, in terms of how my life is going, this is what I'm able to do. Are you able to do this? Because after that, I mean, the conversation is always open to be had. I think seasons change too. When a new child comes in, things get a little different as well. So I think those type of conversations need to be updated and revised. Hey, I've been handling the laundry and stuff, but I may need help this week, even, and I think even that sometimes, yeah, maybe you do have it most the other times, but today I don't got it and it needs to get done. Can you help me? And I think thinking of the family as a system, and like you said, a family business, we're all here, we're all sharing the same resources. Let's make it, I won't say equitable, but let's make it manageable for each other, right?
Yeah.
And be considerate of everyone. So,
Yeah. Let's optimize our resources.
I like that. I like that.
Well, because that's it. Not only our resources, let's optimize our energy.
Energy, our time, our effort.
Yeah. And I think that we need to come up with some other adjectives for describing women, right? Some other adjectives that don't include strong, creative, resilient, I don't know. But I think that strong oftentimes allows us to not acknowledge our current state and where we are. And this quest to be strong doesn't allow you, as Tanique mentioned, to give yourself grace.
Yeah. As you were talking about other adjectives, I was thinking about, what about flexible?
Flexible, right?
Adaptable. I like that too. Right? We don't have to be strong, because strong sounds so stagnant. So like
not dynamic. Yeah.
Permanent.
Right. Permanent. Yeah. Rigid.
Yeah. Definitely. So with that, then, what would be, maybe it's one phrase, one practice that we can help ourselves and other women who might be listening to this, and also other people who are not women who might be listening to this and have women in their lives, to really help women shift from this notion of the strong woman to emotionally supported woman?
What comes up for me, and I often suggest it to people in my family, in my life, even clients, right, is to make sure that you check in with yourself throughout the day. Check in, and when I say check in, I mean sit with yourself and it doesn't take long to check in. The more you do it, the better at it you become. In the beginning, it'll feel weird, right? It'll feel unfamiliar. And so the more you do it and pay attention to your body's responses to things when they're happening, and ask yourself, what's happening for me and what do I need? What do I need? So like you were saying, Christiana, optimize your resources.
Yeah, I think for me, the word that, or the sentiment that comes to mind too, like a lot of times on social media, it says check on your strong friends. And I think we have a communal responsibility, especially us knowing within the community that this is something that many of us are struggling with. Check on that friend that never asked for anything. And I would say for that person that's receiving the check-in, I would say answer honestly.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I'm fine, I'm good, I'm just getting through, and those euphemisms deny us the ability to receive the care that we could possibly have. And I think sometimes we're even trying to assess if the person has capacity for us, but we are at capacity. So that's what I would say.
That's powerful. I like that, because what you two are saying, like, Jay, I'm hearing you say, like, really checking in with yourself. So it's the same thing as checking in on your strong self. I mean, friends, it's like checking in on your strong self, which that part of yourself, like, check in with her, right? And ask her, what do I need, right? So that when your friend outside of yourself actually shows up and asks you how you're doing, Tanique, you're saying be honest.
Yes.
Be honest and truly share how you're feeling. And it's also not your job now to start thinking about, can my friend handle this? If your friend is coming to you to ask you how you're doing, it's good then to be honest and take that space to say, hey, this is what's happening. Or even if you don't want to overwhelm them, you can tell them, this is what's happening. Can we have time at this time to talk more about it? Right? So it's really having that relationship, like that real relationship with yourself and also with your community as well, and really being honest. So that's what I hear you two saying. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you too for this Let's Talk series. I really hope that our audience have enjoyed the brief moment of just reflecting and conversation on really shifting from this notion of the strong woman to an emotionally supported woman. If y'all continue to like our content, don't forget to check us out on our website at absummerrelationalhealth.com. And also, we do provide individual, couples, and family therapy. So the topic that we talked about here today is something that we also kind of really help our clients with in therapy as well. So you can go on that page and book your free 15 minutes phone consultation if you feel like you need any help to really talk through whatever difficulties, whether it is depression, anxiety that is connected to quote unquote being the strong woman. So thank you, everybody.